Hi, I'm Lisa Bodie. I'm going to welcome you into my tiny house. So, I built the house 8 years ago. I started in 2011. Spent about 9 months while I was working and living in a broke down 13-foot camper trailer. I was able to start building everything with local friends. So we've got about 144 square feet downstairs. And then the loft is probably another like 80 square feet that it gives me. And so I've got a sitting platform for friends. A full kitchen. I really like to cook, so I wanted to really implement having a full kitchen. And so I had different friends with aspects. I was dating a guy who lived in a tiny house, and that was probably 10, 12 years ago, and I hadn't even heard of this. So spending time in his really gave the opportunity to see that you could manage in it, cook in it, live in it for 4 seasons. And so we found a used trailer and then got reclaimed beetle kill. We have a big pinion beetle kill problem in Colorado, so I got all reclaimed beetle kill wood. And my dad came and helped me with all of the woodwork and the flooring. And then an old friend, Carl Gross, helped me. We used all the scrap to do the cabinetry and just put all the walls, what we had left, to make our drawers and cabinets. And there's a company in Salida that does custom metal, so we did the copper and then like cut out and use the scrap again to make cabinet. So we used the sink middle.
Oh, wow.
and designed that so I could like perfectly fit as much in, because in a tiny house you're obviously looking for many different space options, and that's evolved over time because I have my office, so printers, computers,
Internet.
I'm fully hooked up
You
here.
got a ceiling fan.
And ceiling fan keeps it cool. I put in a wood stove.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. It heats up the place fine. And when we built it, we weren't sure where I was going to be. So I did put in... It was really hard to find research that long ago. And now there's a plethora of information out there on tiny homes. But Dickinson makes a great... They're boating stoves. And so they're propane, but they have low and high settings and low and high fan. And so if you wanted just an ambient temperature, you could set that, leave for the day if you didn't have firewood. Luckily, that's not a problem because I do fire mitigation, so I always have plenty of wood. So that becomes my daily ritual. Would you like to see the loft? So then this is my loft. So I've got a full clean bed. Got a European style mattress to keep it lower for the space because I want to be able to fully sit up and read or have space if I have guests over.
Nice.
Drawers for clothes, bookshelf. You can get creative and make like really interesting bookshelves. So mine's kind of covered. Gives the illusion there's not so many books up in my loft.
Cool.
Oh, you want to see all my crazy clothes?
Sure. Clothes closet. You got to put them somewhere.
I gave up a bathroom so I could have a closet.
Nice.
So dirty, you've got the dirty laundry, extra
Sure.
jewelry, socks,
Sure.
boots.
Cool.
Everything stored up. Crates do wonders to give you space. And then I do have a little fridge now that's a really low energy fridge. But I'm only able to run that now because I'm borrowing a friend's solar system. And we can show you that when we head outside. But
All right.
living in a tiny house, I find you want to be outside with the elements quite a bit. So I tend to cook a lot outside as well. I do all my dishes. I can do them inside in the sink, but I just prefer because I've got the double here. Goes into just buckets, so then you have the gray water. You can water plants, water the trees. Anything that's food scrap gets composted, and I've got a barrel composter now. So everything tries to minimize that waste. And then
Deep freezer.
This is just for
Cooler.
storage. So I haven't had any refrigeration until this summer. So for, over 7 years, I would just put a cooler, maybe with some ice, and put it inside of this one.
Cool.
And then regulate. In the winter, everything's great. You can freeze things. So I just really use this for storage now. Heating up water, so I'll heat up water to do the dishes, heat up water to make tea. And then over here, really into the fire. So we've got outdoor fire pit and seating area. So then I can also cook. So I'll take coals and I can cook or set your own fire. And I've got a double for grilling, barbecuing here, just with the old adobe bricks that were repurposed. So you can cook out with your friends.
Cool.
And then I do a wood-fired bath for bathing. So I'm really fortunate. I'm on a friend's private land in unincorporated Swatch County. And so he has a small solar system on his well. And so from the well in the summer, I can run a hose over. I fill the bath, have a fire. Same thing, use the gray water in the plants that are around it. You can see I'm starting with more of the native grasses coming through and maybe some other garden beds. They just tend to really thrive just on that water. So it's really important with using your biodegradable soaps, nothing that's toxic, no chemicals. I was reading in the gray water, the section in the Human Manure Handbook, and how much in our society we think of our kitchen drain as a disposal unit. So food goes in it. We put chemicals that we clean with down in it, and then that's going into our water systems. So the more that we can separate at that source and use organic and non-toxic materials, it goes right back into the earth, and you're just creating a better living ecosystem. So then we can take a walk.
Want to show us the garden?
Sure, yeah, let's go see. So the garden, you can see there's a lot of rock around here. And so the first summer, all I did was remove rocks. I just piled rocks, moved rocks, and there was a dead pinion that had been cut in just the stump, which is now rotted, so I've replaced it with a pinion. So it's just posts from the land, and then everything that I've built outside is pretty much scrap from jobs when I worked with the youth program, or people were throwing away this piece of lumber or this piece of metal. So I just started piecing things together to put the posts in. And the challenge has been the critters. They seem to get all the little greens, but we've had some good peas and fava beans, comfrey. Wild lettuce came up on its own. And then other plants from friends like the rhubarb and irises transplanted. So seeing what friends have in their gardens here that's done well to bring it in. And then thanks Doug and Amelia, they gave me my 100-gallon water storage. So then same thing, I can just take water from here and water plants with it by hand. Hey Rue, and my friend's dog is visiting us today. And then the second tank I use as a cold plunge. So if I have the hot wood-fired bath, then I have the 100-gallon for a cold plunge. Or even on hot summer days, it's just a way to cool off or go to the creek. And then we can take a look at the solar system. So Helmuth built my solar system, well, I guess now it's been 8-9 years ago. And mine is just the small single panel in the middle. It's two 240-watt panels with 4 batteries and an inverter. And it's nice because it's a whole contained system. We wanted something that could travel on a trailer, because everything that I put out here needs to be temporary. It's not for a permanent location. So he built this. We were doing a prototype with the county, and he got some grant funding too to help start building these self-contained units. So the inverter, controllers, and all of the batteries are in this self-contained system. But then I got lucky. My friend Alan was not going to Burning Man and wanted someone to store his. So I ended up being able to run this bigger system with how I have refrigeration now, because he has the 2 side panels and he has a whole nother system contained on his trailer. So all of his batteries and his whole system's portable as well. So as I mentioned, I had bought a used trailer. It's an 18-foot by 8-foot wide. And Keith Tian used to live here, so we did blown soy insulation, which was amazing. You have to scrape all of it out. And then another guy with Terry's RVs did all of my propane wiring, so that goes to that Dickinson stove and then to my gas range. So I have a full oven size that was built for an RV. So then around here, this was my latest project this summer, was water catchment. So my neighbor Angela, we put up just a simple gutter with a spout, and then the chains just for visual effect. And then when it rains, it'll fill the 55-gallon drums. I've got an overflow into the second one, and then once again I can use that to water plants, water the trees, and that's come in really handy sometimes when we've had pump issues or well issues. It's very important if you're going to be in a tiny house is storage. I wasn't necessarily thinking so much on that, and if you do any kind of outdoor work or outdoor sports, snowboarding, skiing, biking, you know, I have all my chainsaw equipment for working with the trees. So then I've got an area where I set up just to do like more workshop type space. Do you want to see that?
Yeah, let's check out
Okay, watch
that.
the cactus.
Yep.
There's my friend Flair's teardrop here. So I have a lot of people that like to come and visit. A lot of girlfriends and people traveling through. But now I'm just repurposing old pallets, cutting the middles so that I can actually have a smooth, flat floor. Because then I'm going to make this into more of a flat workspace, get a covering. Once again, all of this wood out here has been repurposed from other jobs, or juniper poles from when I've cut. So old shed that was being thrown away, old fences that were being thrown away. So I'm just putting this together to have an awning so I can have some type of covering to build chains, work on projects, have the little table saw out here and tools. So this is the current project. I was inspired to do the tiny house because when I moved to Crestone, I was actually looking to get a low-income loan. I've traditionally worked a lot of different odd jobs, self-employed, working with youth, working with the community, and that's hard to demonstrate consistent income. And so I was working with NACA, it's Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America, and then for about 2 years, and then I was also applied with USDA to do one of these low-income grants to actually buy property or a house here. But because of that inconsistency, I still couldn't qualify for low-income loans. Initially, I thought, well, I could be a little bit more portable. Although I would say a house this size, you really have to pack it up like you would moving. So I put that idea away that it would definitely be a little bit more of a temporary, permanent structure. But the things that it was such a blessing to not get that loan is I do not have a mortgage. I don't have debt. I'm not paying a monthly rent that's not going into something that isn't mine. So I figure what I've put into it, if here the lowest you're going to find a place as a single person is $500, $600 a month. So even at the low end, $6,000 a year, you know, this place has paid itself off of what I've put into it, what I would have been paying in rent. And then with the solar system as well, it's paid itself off on what I would have paid for utility bills with lights, electric. And then you really tune into the elements living this way. It's like the sun you're paying attention to with your solar system and what your power is. If the grid goes down or there's a storm, you don't have to worry about it. You still have your power system. Also with the water, as I mentioned, like it's really taught me how to be conservative with water, to really pray with the water, to pay attention to it. Because every bit of water that's getting used, I either have to haul in, or like I said, in the summer I can run with some of the hoses. So water's a really crucial factor. And then you're paying attention to just all of the pieces around you because you're outside so much and you're working with that, and so it simplifies your life. I think it's I can have wood as my heat, and so I'm working with the forest that's around me, which we have an overgrown pinyon juniper forest, and so working with the health of the forest, so it starts to tie all that piece back in a natural way.